everybody, we are live, we are back. We have an abbreviated version of the A-Team today. We've got Sam Mellinger right here, Blair Kerkhoff right here. I'm Brooke Pryor, in case you've forgotten, because we haven't come to you guys live since, the loss in the AFC Championship game?
That's right.
Our last one?
Since January, whatever that date was in January.
Yeah, only a few things have happened since then.
Not much.
Didn't feel a need to give you guys any updates. No, but we're happy to be able to finally come together and talk with some of the biggest storylines that have happened over the last week specifically. Free agency has been open officially for a week, really about a week and a half since the legal tampering period began on Monday. About a week ago, actually exactly a week ago, Eric Berry was released. Had a lot of other moves. We've had some Tyreek Hill news, as you all know. So let's start with free agency, because I see you've got the Chiefs story right here. Is
right? Your free agency story that we ran in the paper today that I need to refer to, because there has been so much movement, so much comings and goings with the Chiefs, and look, the Tyreek Hill news more recently has overshadowed what I thought was monumental news of the previous week. Justin Houston, D. Ford, Eric Berry especially. I mean, that is a tectonic shift in the personality, not just the production, but the personality of the defense. And I think I read it from one of you guys, Sam, may have been you in your minutes. It all started with the defensive coordinator switch. I mean, that was the first big one. We haven't had a chance to talk about that.
Right.
But Steve Spagnuolo coming in to replace. To become the new defensive coordinator, and since then the changes have just been, it's like one a week. Major news.
It is the kind of makeover that I think a lot of us thought they should have done a year ago. And it was, a year ago they said culture change, but it was basically just Marcus Peters gone for culture, Derek Johnson gone for old.
For age.
And then that'll fix everything. And obviously that didn't happen. It's just, applause for them doing it this thoroughly. I mean, this is, it's not just so it's 3 out of the 4. You talk about biggest names, personalities, whatever. It's 3 out of the top 4 on that defense, by far. Chris Jones is the last man standing, and he'll get a big contract, we expect, relatively soon. But it's not just that, and that's enough on its own. And it's not just the defensive coordinator. Every coach on that staff is new, with one exception, and that's Andy Reid's son, who is switching position. He was a defensive line coach, and now he's essentially, they don't call him this, but he's essentially the assistant linebackers coach now.
Right. Because
Matt House is sort of the associate defensive coordinator, in a lot of ways, and Britt is going to be sort of his assistant. So it's, I don't know if it'll work. None of us can know if it'll work.
It can't get worse.
But they are trying. It won't be for lack of effort.
So what's the comment? What's the comment on all this? I mean, it is. You said it just a second ago that maybe some of this should have been done a year or so ago. Yeah. But now it's all getting done now. Is this the Chiefs responding to 31st ranked defense? This close, overtime, maybe a coin flip away from being in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Is it all of that? I mean, is it why is it it's financial considerations are paramount in this as well? I mean, what's going on here?
I think it kind of starts with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I think that they know that this Super Bowl window is open, and the defense was largely why they didn't get to the Super Bowl this year. And so now they're trying to do everything they can to beef up that defensive side to match the offensive firepower that they have on the other side and the tone that's set by Patrick Mahomes. And I think that a huge signal for that was when they signed Tyrann Mathieu. We've been told that Tyrann Mathieu rhymes with Byron. If you ever get confused, just say Byron. You can go Tyrann off of that.
I always went Tyrann when he was in college.
Honey Badger is just a lot easier. The Badger.
He's going to be the Honey Badger.
The Badge.
I like the Badge.
The Badge. But in signing Tyrann Mathieu, dang it, Tyrann Mathieu, this is going to happen frequently. I think that they were trying to give the defense its own version of a Patrick Mahomes, its own version of an up-and-coming defensive player that's really going to lead the charge leadership-wise in the locker room, on the field, and kind of be the face of the defense. And so I think that that's what they're trying to do, and that's what kind of this shift signaled is, they got rid of two guys, Barry and Houston, who were older. D Ford, younger guy, but didn't want to spend the money on him. And now they're bringing in another young core for the defensive side to kind of match the young core they have on the offensive side.
You know what's interesting? This is a little bit of a tangent, but you said like D Ford, younger guy, and that's true. He's not Justin Houston and Eric Berry, but he's 2 years older than Matthew. I think that's right.
Yeah, Matthew's 26.
It's weird how again, he's not old, but he's not young.
Right.
And
he's football.
I think Tyrann Mathieu is still young. I think that you're right. Like the first thing you said is the truest thing you can ever say about the Chiefs, that it all starts with Patrick Mahomes. That happened a lot faster than the Chiefs expected. They thought there were going to be some growing pains, so they had a year, almost not a year to waste, but a year of like a buffer to see, you know what, we really want to make it work. Like we've talked ad nauseum about how loyal Andy Reid is. He loves Bob Sutton. Bob Sutton as a man is incredibly well respected inside that building. As a coach, maybe not so much, but they really wanted to make it work. And that was their way of, okay, like if it's not going to work in 2018 after, I don't think it's a coincidence that Gary Gibbs left, after the 17 season. Like we're going to make a little bit of changes. Marcus Peters, I think, to get the voices out that they thought were distracting, give it one last try. But gosh, I really believe this. If they knew that Pat was going to be as good as he was, I think they might have done this a year earlier. I really do.
But don't you think there's a little bit of a risk here? And a team that was 12-4, won the division for the third straight year, got to overtime in the AFC Championship game, and it basically, reforms its defense.
Yeah.
I mean, just one side of the ball is going to be. I mean, how many? We can figure it out. How many starters are going to return from the AFC title game? More than half are going to be replaced. Mm-hmm. That's a little bit of a roll of the dice, isn't it? And let me say this real quick. I didn't mean to insult Bob Sutton earlier. Great guy. So I forgot his name. I didn't forget his name. I didn't mean that as an insult. Bob's a great guy.
Wish him insults of Bob Sutton, starting with Sam.
I wish him good luck in Atlanta. I really do.
Yeah, a saint. I will really miss talking with him. He was a great.
Oh my gosh, terrific guy to talk to.
God, he was great.
And I think I actually think he's a brilliant coach. And
he's very professorial.
But at some point, the message wasn't getting through anymore.
It wasn't working here, and it wasn't going to. They made a lot of personnel changes too after 17. It was more like lower level after Marcus Peters and Derek Johnson. But remember that, and a lot of this was that personnel was garbage at the end of the 17 season. Remember how much they were playing Darrell Revis and some other guys that just didn't have any business. I think it's a little bit of a risk. Like anything's a risk. Like not doing anything is a risk, right? But the reason that they feel like it's safe is the trust. We just talked about how loyal Andy Reid is. He's still loyal to Steve Spagnuolo too. And there was a
Andy's been around long enough. There's a lot of guys he's loyal to.
Yeah, and I think he feels a level of trust in Spags that it's. I think the way that they look at it is, I don't know if this is going to be 10 steps forward, but I know it's not going to be a step back. It may just be a half step forward or a step forward or two or whatever, but I'm sure that it's going to be forward. That's how they view it, I think. And he's got a lot of the leadership stuff. Every coach in some way, I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I've always thought this. Every coaching hire in some way is a reaction to the last guy. And sometimes you swing the pendulum really far. And, like Andy Reid was a reaction to the 2012. That's stability. That is experience. That is a guy that's done it. We've got some talent, and I'm here to be the adult in the room and get this thing level and everybody pulling in the right way. And I think that Steve Spagnuolo is a reaction, not just in the relationship that he has with Andy, but one of the things that he is going to bring is accountability. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, that it's all new coaches and it's all like Spags guys, because Bob Sutton had very few of his own guys.
That gets forgotten when he took the job. It was not his. He didn't bring his staff with him.
I think he only brought one, and it was like a quality control guy. Eventually, there were more. Why am I blanking on the outside linebackers coach, De Leon? He had a relationship with Sutton. There was maybe one or two others, but that was Emmett Thomas. That was Gary Gibbs. That was Al Harris. It wasn't Bob guys, and I think that makes a difference too.
So I agree with you with a new coach is you try to find an improvement over. You just fired a coach, right? So you want an upgrade, and you're right. I especially see it in the colleges where
Totally.
When a coach is fired, especially in football, you're looking for the exact opposite in terms of personality and drive, and so we see it all the time, and I think that's especially true here with Spags.
Yeah, it was really interesting talking with Spags back in that first teleconference. Feels like it's been so long. It really might be less than a month since we've talked with him. But he was just really fiery and energetic, and has a really thick. Is it a Boston accent?
New England.
New England?
New England. I think he's I think he's from Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Yeah. We need Linworthy to translate some of the things that he's saying. But yeah, I mean, I was just really pleasantly surprised by how engaging he was and how thoughtful he was in his answers. And that's not to say that Bob Sutton wasn't. They just have two totally different styles in how they communicate.
Bob was, as, how do you say it? Like, if you just read what Spags says and you read what Bob says, they're both similarly like deep and want to answer the question. Spags just does it in a more like sort of energetic, how would you say it? Like charismatic, sort of.
I think he's pretty charismatic.
More energy.
Right, exactly.
There's more energy.
And that was something that I talked with Brendan Daly. It's actually funny the way that all this worked out. Brendan Daly, new defensive line coach, defensive run game coordinator, I believe is the other title that they're giving him. I talked to him at the Super Bowl when he was there with the Patriots because he had this connection with Spags, work with him on the Rams staff. And he said that the thing that makes him so good is just the way that he communicates with players and the way that he connects with them and just this ability that really endeared his players to him. And even though the team was terrible the year that they were together, he said that he just felt a unity, and that was all kind of headed up by Spags. And I think that that's something that this defense really needs that they maybe didn't have at times last year, that there was a disconnect between Sutton and the locker room, and that what he was saying just wasn't translating to what they needed to do on the field.
I don't disagree that there was that disconnect. I think we saw it in the performance of the defense. But I'm always a little skeptical, and maybe I've evolved in this way of thinking when I hear coaches talk about forming some sort of family feel, or,
they're all the brotherhood.
Yeah. It is a business.
It's a tool for that family thing is a tool for coaches, but it's not real.
And we're talking about this at a time when the NCAA tournament is running out players with family on their on their warm-up jerseys for all the teams. So it is a cold hard business, as we're learning here the last few weeks with the departures of Justin Houston, Eric Berry, Dee Ford, and Chris Connolly, and more to come. I mean, there will be other free agents who we thought of part of the Chiefs family who will no longer
that
be.
list that I have of guys who still haven't figured out where they're going.
Jeff Allen, Alan Bailey, Kelvin Benjamin, Jordan Devey, Orlando Scandrick, Anthony Sherman, DeAnthony Thomas, Spencer Ware, Sharkandrick West, Frank Zombo.
Out of that list, who do you guys think is most likely to be back next year? Anybody? If anybody.
I don't know that there's anybody that I would just like
the Shermanator
bet my life on.
Yeah, they signed Aaron Ripkowski, fullback, played at OU. I think he got a future.
They really like Sherman, and
he's a Pro Bowl fullback.
Yeah, and he's not going to cost that much money. He showed some versatility. I think this matters because Demetrius Harris is gone.
Right.
Sherman's he's not going to be their second string tight end. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But he showed some versatility in being able to do some tight endy sort of things.
Caught the wheel route touchdown, remember, in the season opener?
That was it.
Couldn't forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
West and Zombo.
That was a good throw.
West and Zombo they brought back in mid-season or late in the season after injury to replace injured players.
55-man roster that they were.
Essentially,
that's what that was.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope Alan Bailey's back. I think the price is probably going to rise up a little bit too much. I think he's a good player, and more importantly, a good locker room guy for us.
Yes,
he's
a
good
great
talker.
quote.
Scandrick gone.
DeAnthony Thomas
probably gone. Spencer Ware gone.
I think he's gone. Yeah.
I could see West and Zombo being a 55-man roster again. Kelvin Benjamin's interesting. I haven't talked to anybody there about what that was basically a tryout, not just like the games, and he didn't have that much of an impact.
He had the one play that should have been a touchdown?
Yeah, and the throw was a little off. Are we talking about the same play in Seattle, I think?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. But, I think more importantly, the games are obviously important, but I think they were kind of trying to judge him on what he was looking like during the week. And I haven't talked to anybody in the building to know yay or nay on that. But that's an interesting guy. Like, you could see a situation where Demetrius Harris goes and Kelvin Benjamin's not a tight end, but sort of a, there's a little bit of a hybrid.
He does have the size.
He does have the size.
God, I loved him coming out of college.
Yeah.
Loved him out of Florida State.
Yeah. So
hasn't
anyway,
exactly
that's an
panned out,
interesting
but
one. Jeff Allen, I would expect the price to.
He's a good locker room guy, so it's
He's great. He'd be
also
great to
great
get
on
back.
Twitter. I have my Twitter alerts turned on for him. He's really funny. Jordan Devey, a guy that came in and played a little bit before he tore his pec muscle.
Yeah, remember he came in to replace Mitch Morris. When Morris went out with a concussion, Devy I don't think he finished the first game.
No, I don't think so.
And that's when Austin Ryder appeared on the scene. And,
he had a great year.
And then
you think about where he was in training camp to where like sort of his stature finished the year. He made a ton of progress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what the Chiefs do. But I think let's go back to the guys that they cut and the way that they were cut, traded, whatever. Because going back to it being a business, it was kind of an unceremonious release for Eric Berry, a situation where the Chiefs just kind of tweeted it out. You know
what's interesting about that is if he would have had surgery, he's on the roster, and the Chiefs don't have nearly as much cap space. When he didn't have surgery, and which meant basically that he's healthy, that means that they could cut him and save the money. But I think the Chiefs expected him to have surgery right after the year, and then they're stuck with the deal. Because at that point, you can only save, I forgot, $1.5 million or $2 million.
Right, it wasn't much at all.
It's just an interesting thing. And Eric Berry didn't do that to get released. He wanted to play. He wanted to stay. That guy believes in this family thing. And he's been here for, what, like 8 years? 9 years?
10, I think.
9 years.
Was it 10?
I think
so,
10.
So this was his ninth season. He kind of does believe in that, and he's one of the. If it is a family, he's kind of one of the dads.
For sure. But
it's just an interesting. I'm sorry, but it's just an interesting thing that people expected him to have the surgery. He would have been completely justified having the surgery, and if he had the surgery, he's still on this team, and they owe the money.
I found one of the. It was an interesting reveal to me, gauging fan reaction to Eric Berry from like beginning of the season through his, when's he going to be back? Is it going to be mid-season? They can put him on our, until the end. And I think that helped cushion the blow for Chiefs fans to lose him because nobody knew anymore. They just didn't know, what his health status was, and when he played, would he be, 90% of what he was at his peak? And I think that helped Chiefs fans get over losing a guy who I think we all agree will be in the Ring of Honor.
For sure.
That was going to be my next question that I've seen on Twitter, and I've answered some questions about it. But what is Eric Berry's legacy going to be here? I mean, are we going to see a statue of him out front of Arrowhead? Because of how this ended, how does that impact what he'll be thought of long term here?
I'm going to say this, and I may regret it, really quickly, because I haven't thought about this until you just said statue. But I don't think he'll get a statue. And if I can just say it, I don't think he deserves a statue at Arrowhead. You know where he might get a statue? Children's Mercy Hospital. Something like that. I could see something like that because I feel like when you talk about his legacy, I think he's a terrific player. I'm not trying to push that into the background at all.
Right.
But I think his legacy, the way that people are going to remember him in Kansas City is more about the kind of man that he is. It's about the cancer. It's about that to me is how he's going to be remembered, which it's not a shame at all, but he was also a terrific player because if he never had any of that other any health related things, his legacy would be like, oh my God, Eric Berry was a monster.
Yeah. And listen, even without the health related things, I mean, the number of Pro Bowls and All Pros and all that stuff would still make him one of the best players, in Chiefs history, really. I mean, that's why I think he'll be in the Ring of Honor, no matter what path his career takes. Now, would he visit Dallas earlier this week?
Yep,
I think
visited Dallas Monday.
He wants to continue to play, and he'll play somewhere. I do hope it's in the NFC and not in the AFC, and certainly not in the AFC West.
It would be weird to see him playing against the Chiefs.
It will be. It will be. But
Get signed by Gruden. Man,
That's where everybody's going.
don't make that.
right,
Yeah.
he knows better. Hey, it's Blair Kerkhoff, and if you're listening to this, you love Kansas City sports, whether it's the Chiefs, Royals, Sporting, Mizzou, KU, or K-State. And no one covers these teams like the Kansas City Star. If you currently subscribe to the paper or have a digital subscription, thank you for your support. And if you don't, here's a great offer. It's called Sports Pass. Unlimited digital access to every sports story and video on kansascity.com. And it's just $30 for the first year. It's the best sports value in town, just 8 cents a day or $2.50 a month. You can't beat that. Subscribe now at kansascity.com/sportspass.
And let's talk about another guy who still doesn't have a new team, who was released, Justin Houston. That one felt more obvious. I mean, I think as free agency kind of went on, it became clear that Eric Berry was going to be released, especially once they signed Tyrann Mathieu. Justin Houston, we kind of got a sense that he was going to be released at the Combine. Ian Rappaport tweeted out the Chiefs were shopping him, which, by the way, the Combine, everybody's being shopped by everybody else except Patrick Mahomes. That's just kind of some of those conversations that they were engaging in. But I think that was a really serious one between the Chiefs and other teams, seeing what they could get trade value-wise for Justin Houston, a guy that had a massive contract. They needed to free up some cap space. So they were trying to gauge what they could get for him. When it became clear that the trade market just wasn't there, they couldn't get the value back that they were seeking, they released him. Released him Sunday before legal tampering began. Sam, were you surprised by that move?
Not really. He was never, we've been talking about this for a year. He was never going to be back in 2019 on that contract. Never.
Right.
Like that was just never a possibility. We started talking about that in the summer. So that was just, so once you go to him after the season and say, look, we'd like to renegotiate, I actually thought, I don't think there was much expectation within the Chiefs or around football that he would do that. I actually thought there might be. He's got a really good agent, the kind of agent that you don't expect to renegotiate. But beyond that, I felt like, look, his value, if the Chiefs could get him, sort of open market value or close to it, why wouldn't he want to stay close to the Super? It's a place where he's comfortable.
Yes.
He's got a lot of friends. He's got a lot of juice, as they say, in that locker room. People look up to him. I just felt like this would be maybe a spot where he might renegotiate. That said, I will never criticize an NFL player for looking out for his own. Of trying to get every single dollar, because it is not a family, it is a cold-hearted business. And so he may have felt like, if I renegotiate, even if it's the same money, if I go somewhere else, all that money's going to be up front, and I get it now. Whereas if it's a renegotiation, you got to wait for a while. And if it came down to that, it's a business decision. Good for Justin.
Right.
Well, and following the business decision theme, I mean, you're right. What team will he go to outside of the Patriots and the Rams, where he's closer to a Super Bowl?
Right.
And so, yes, I mean, he does have a great agent, and he's looking out for Justin. He's looking out, and the agent's looking out for his client, which is absolutely what it is. And that further defines what a business this is.
Totally.
That you're just going to get the best deal for yourself. Even if your lifelong goal is to play in the Super Bowl, Kansas City would have been the place to be.
Yep.
I think it is surprising, though, that he hasn't signed on with anyone yet, that we're into the second wave of free agency and he's still out there.
He is still out there. And isn't it interesting, too, now that Andy Reid's been here for 6 years now, there are all sorts of spots where he could land, or any of these free agents could land, that are very familiar with him. You know? The Bears, the Eagles, the Browns. There are some teams that know everything about these Chiefs.
Yeah, we've got the
Falcons.
The Colts. The
Gosh,
Falcons.
that is crazy. I hadn't thought about that. My first thought always goes to the Browns because of their recent history. I mean, they've got Demetrius Harris, Kareem Hunt. They signed somebody else. That Philip Gaines.
Philip Gaines, right.
I want to say, I thought there was
I
another
think I counted
person.
the other day. There's 5 right now on the Browns roster who were that either were drafted by or spent. Eric Kush, I think, is one of them. The drafted by or spent a considerable amount of time in Kansas City and under Dorsey and Reed.
We've just got Chiefs Part 2 up
Yeah,
in Cleveland.
and the Chiefs have some Browns players as well.
Right.
Irvin and Cameron Irvin,
Ryder
one of them.
is a Browns guy.
Ryder, right. So
the way that, well, sorry, but just a quick tangent, but like the way that the Browns are building is super interesting to me. It's the Chiefs. They're trying to just do exactly what the Chiefs did. Young franchise playmaking quarterbacks, surround them with just a boatload of offensive talent, and then maybe some defensive playmakers, and see if you can make it work. The guy doing it, obviously, has a connection here. It's just that is really interesting because, like, if and when Tom Brady actually ages, like that looks like the next, AFC rivalry.
It makes me really excited because last year it was kind of premature, but the Chiefs and the Browns obviously played, and there was a storyline of Baker versus Patrick. The Browns didn't have the team last year to kind of really help Baker compete with Patrick. But I do think that could be the next Brady Manning situation there if these two teams continue to be built the way that they're built offensively.
And
I mean,
think
oh my gosh.
You can throw in how you feel about the Texans and the Ravens too, with their young quarterbacks, and that could be the next
There's kind of a
power
surge
strike.
right
Colts,
now.
Steelers,
Yeah.
Patriots, and then the Colts, of course, with that. But that could be the next group as we wait for Brady and Belichick to
ride off into the sunset, or
which we've been waiting for a dozen years or so.
it's never going to happen.
Wasn't that when the Chiefs played the Browns? Wasn't that Freddie Kitchens' first game as the head coach?
No, it was Greg Williams.
Yeah, Greg
That's
Williams
right,
was the
Greg
interim
Right,
coach.
but Freddie was the
It was the first
offensive
game after they
coordinator.
fired.
Right,
what's his
exactly.
name? Yeah. Okay. I wonder if you'll do an oral history of that game.
God,
in like
probably.
5
You
years.
know what?
So the Browns and Chiefs don't play in
I
the
just
regular
love oral histories that involve Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes.
And they don't
That's
play
my
in the regular.
wheelhouse.
They're not scheduled to play in the regular season.
No, which is a
this
shame
year.
that we're going to miss it by that much.
But I'm too fascinated by the idea of Baker Mayfield. Is he the guy? Is he
the real deal?
Yeah.
I mean, clearly last season he was. I'm excited to see what he can do with Odell Beckham.
He was real enough. Let's see.
That's right. Because the standard for the next year is different than the standard for this year.
Right.
Because he kind of broke through the Brownsiness a
Yeah,
little bit, and I think that's
right.
important.
That's right.
That's an important
It's
first
taken a
step.
long time for them to do that.
They got to open that Bud Light cooler. Right
Yeah,
there.
they've been in a cycle of suck for a long time. One other guy that we'll mention, and then we'll go on to maybe some things that could happen in the draft. D. Ford traded to the 49ers for a 2020 second-round pick. I put in my what it means. It meant that the Chiefs needed to free up cap space fast to be able to sign some guys this time, and they wanted some draft capital, which we were on that conference call with Brett Veach, and he used the term like aggressive I don't know how many times in talking about the draft, which I tweeted, really sounds like they're going to try to trade up, which you said is an evergreen tweet for Brett Veach in the draft. No kidding. But I think that was a really significant move, that you have this guy that is coming off the best season of his career, trade him away. On its face, you don't get a ton in return, or at least a ton in immediate return. Sam, why do you think they made that move?
Their thinking, I think, is there's a lot of steps in here. So
strap in. Hold on.
Scheme is definitely part of it. They felt like he'd be not an every down player, and $15 million for a third down pass rush specialist, I'm exaggerating to prove a point, is a lot of money. They also, I think, he would have to learn a new scheme, maybe even a little bit of a new position, and they weren't sure if he would do that.
I didn't know if he'd be part of the 4 or part of the 3. I mean, in the 4
that's right.
3.
That's right. And I didn't think about this until, I don't know, a few days ago. Guys hold out. When they get franchise tag, like guys that's what they do. They hold out. And so now if he's got to learn scheme, he's got to learn a new position, all that stuff, and he doesn't show up until August 10th or August 15th or something like that, then you're even further behind. I think I'm pretty sure that's what they were thinking. I still don't agree with it. Like, I still think, like, I think we get too caught up in 4-3 and 4-3 over or 4-3 under. Like, it's just like, let players play. And if Steve Spagnuolo is as good of a coach as I believe he is, he needs to be able to do something with a guy, with that kind of talent. Right. All that said, I do think that it's probably likelier than not that he just had his career high in sacks, that he won't match it again. And I also think that Patrick Mahomes inflates some pass rush numbers because you get ahead, you're in obvious pass situations, you can just, pin your ears back, as they say, and go after it. So I get it, I disagree with it, but I think I understand what they're thinking.
I think Chris Jones helped inflate the numbers as well, too.
Yes.
I mean, the bull rush that he provided from the middle helped Houston and D Ford.
Yes, and one of the reasons why I disagree with it is that I think all three of those guys work together. And D Ford was better because of Chris Jones, and Chris Jones was better because of Justin Houston, and Justin Houston was better because of D Ford. Like you can't double all those guys. And now I feel like if you're playing, I know Alex Okafor said he's a fine player, nothing wrong with him. But
he's not D Ford.
Yeah, if you're playing the Chiefs, you put two guys and a chip on Chris Jones, and what are you going to do about it? That's what I would do.
Yeah, well, because who else do you have? You have Alex Okafor, you've got Tano Passanio, and Breland Speaks.
Yeah.
That doesn't strike fear into many people's hearts.
Nope.
Not in the way that D Ford and Justin Houston and Chris Jones.
They'll draft somebody.
I was going to say, this will be a draft topic.
I think where they trade up is, and this is actually a great segue into what they could do in the draft. If they trade up, I tend to think that they're going to go for an edge now that they've addressed both a safety need in Tyrann Mathieu and a corner in Bashaud Breeland. Finally, when I saw that he got signed and confirmed that, I thought, God, finally. I have heard so much about Bashaud Breeland in the last year or so. Yeah, it's been since July.
Yeah.
Stalked him so hard when he was in St. Joe, walking around in slides and socks and hanging out with Bob Sutton and Brett Veach. Now they finally got that deal done.
With a strong chain, if I remember right.
There was a strong chain. There's a strong chain. There's also a strong fake phone call as he walked into the dormitory, walking by all of us. Just
sorry, guys.
And you can see the apps on his phone. You're like, my dude, you're not on the phone. We can see your screen. But thanks. And Kendall Fuller's looking at what are you doing, man? What are you afraid of right now? So we'll have to ask him about that at some point. Bashaud, did you know that it was a very obvious fake phone call? He's here, so they've addressed those two needs. They've got the strong side linebacker in Damien Wilson. They got Alex Okafor, but I don't think that they're done there with the edge, so I kind of tend to think they trade up. They're going to be going after an edge guy. Is that your sense, Sam?
More line. I don't know specifically edge or an Alan Bailey replacement. Breeland Speaks figures into this in some ways. He was on the edge last year. He'll be inside more this year, part of the four instead of the three, as we have said. Which he was part of the four last year, right?
Yeah, he's just a four person.
The other side of the equation. I think what it does is it sort of frees them up to go heavy on up front rather than the secondary. I think there was a chance that they were going to get 2 out of those first 3 picks would have been the secondary. But I think once you bring in Mathieu, once you bring in Breeland, now you're not set back there. Right. I'm not saying that, but maybe now the emphasis is a little bit more on up front. Now they're going to talk about best player available, right, and their draft board, but they manipulate, as all teams do, their draft board based on their needs.
Right, exactly. I don't think that they're in a position where they need that premium safety or premium corner that you would get in the first round as much as they need a premium D-line guy.
I was thinking corner until this week.
Right.
And now I'm not thinking that as much anymore. To me, the curiosity, one of the themes going into the draft will be, what they did last year was just draft all defense, right? And Veach and the Chiefs have said that was not intentional. It was just the way the draft board fell. Obviously, defense was an emphasis. If nothing else, it was an emphasis. They took all 6. They turned one into McKenzie into an offensive lineman. But I think defense is going to be the emphasis again with this draft. Right. I would imagine their first round, assuming they stay in the first round, will be a defensive player. And I don't think we'll see all defense. What are they? Is it 8 picks they have right now?
Yes.
Or 2 in the second?
It's 1 in every round, 2 in the second, I think.
Maybe we're not too far off if that's not the case.
Right.
But, so anyway, I think defense will be the emphasis again, and I can't disagree that defensive front, start scouring the prospects there, especially late first-round prospects.
Right, exactly.
I could see them. Sorry,
No.
I could see them taking if it's going to be an offensive player. I could see them taking a tight end.
Yeah.
I think they've wanted to improve the depth there for a long time, and they just lost some depth. I could see them doing that. Maybe a running back, but I could see them if they're going to draft on offense. I would expect it to be a tight end.
Yeah.
You hope or you assume Kelsey's going to be available at at the beginning of camp with his surgery in the off season.
Right.
They certainly will go into the off season without starting without their top
Right,
two
they'll
tight
have
ends.
Deion Yelder will be their number one tight end, which, I kind of thought that they would take a running back at some point, and then they signed Carlos Hyde right before free agency officially started, and he helps address some of the depth issues back there with Damian Williams and Darrell Williams and now Carlos Hyde. I still think they may add one more guy, but it may not necessarily be a drafted guy.
That's a good thing about backs, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just, they're a dime a dozen. And then we have had some questions, of course, about Tyreek Hill. Yeah. I do think that the outcome of this investigation that is involving him will have some kind of impact on the draft. And that kind of, this whole situation is happening in the offseason, so I don't think that the Chiefs have to come to a conclusion about what to do as quickly as, the Kareem Hunt situation. There's also two very different circumstances. But I think it could impact what they do in the draft. How do you kind of see that shaking out?
They've got to get to a point where they. I don't know that there's going to be a conclusion before the draft.
Right.
I don't know that, but they need to get to a point where they feel that they can make an educated guess about what that outcome might be. I still would think that they would, even if the worst, like let's just assume the worst of the worst of the worst is the outcome. That doesn't change, to me anyway, I don't think that changes them from still focusing on defense. Because I think one of the reasons you hire Andy Reid, and certainly then if you give him this, rocket ship quarterback, is that they can generate offense, sort of on their own. I still think you focus on defense, but how could it not if it's, they wouldn't have signed Damian Williams to a contract extension if they still had Kareem Hunt.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it does affect other moves.
Right, I think that's a great point.
Maybe it has an impact what they do with DeAnthony Thomas as well. I don't know. In terms of the conversation, you have to talk about it if he's not there, right? And what they might do if he's not there, and how that would impact things if he's not there. I think would have maybe not an impact on the personnel decisions, but a major impact on what this team is capable of doing.
Yeah, the ceiling.
Yeah. I mean, right now, when you correct me if I'm wrong, tell me if you guys disagree, but right now, I think the Chiefs have 3 players, maybe 4. I'll count Chris Jones. 4 players who are in the top 3 at their positions in the NFL: Chris Jones, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jones would be borderline top 3.
Okay.
He's
probably.
close.
Yeah, probably
He's
so.
close.
Maybe on the outside looking in, but moving in that
Close.
direction.
Tyrann Mathieu, top 5?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But those are difference-making players.
Right.
Those are the players that separate the Chiefs. That's the difference between 12-4 and 10-6ish. I mean, when you have that number of players who are difference-making players, and to lose one, you can't be replaced. He can't be replaced with. You can't replace Tyreek Hill with Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, the Kareem Hunt was a different deal, right? Like, and we're just talking about cold football here, right? Like, I mean, let's pause and we're all adults. Like, the most important thing is safety of the kids, safety of everybody,
absolutely.
and all
Right.
that stuff. We're just this is just like pure football. Kareem Hunt's a running back, and he's terrific. His balance, he'll make plays.
Jump over people.
I still think about that. It was the Bengals, right?
Bengals game.
The hurdle,
Yeah,
and then
it was phenomenal. The night
bull
game, the
rush
Sunday
right
night
after
game,
that. I mean, he's a terrific player, but he's still a running back. And Tyreek Hill is not just a harder position or a more important position on the field to play, but he's so unique. I mean, there's not a lot of guys. I mean, Antonio Brown would be sort of like the closest deal, but Tyreek Hill is so much faster. So much faster. It changes the play calls. It changes
the defense.
how you draw up those plays. Like it changes. Yeah, it would change
changes
everything.
a lot.
Yeah.
So that's what. So as the Tyreek Hill story unfolds, and there's still a long ways to go. I do, and I think Chiefs fans think about it that way. Well, that's their concern. We're all concerned about what might have happened. With the investigation and what the investigation might find, and so I just assume that we're all on the same page there, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And including Chiefs fans. So that's why I think of it in terms of how, that being the case, then how it might affect the Chiefs and how and what might happen going forward and how it might change the dynamic of the team. It's certainly nothing that was anticipated. It was just like Kareem Hunt on that day. I mean, the Kareem Hunt day, right? That happened. The discovery and the action happened in 6 hours, right? It would happen. We were in Oakland.
Yeah.
Wasn't it that day?
Yep. It was the Friday before the Oakland.
Yeah, it was Friday because I was still at the facility.
That's right. Friday before Oakland, and by the end of the day,
he was gone.
Gone. 6 o'clock.
And you know what? I think it would have been even faster. I think the Chiefs were waiting for the NFL to put him on the exempt list,
right?
Or else I think they would have cut him 10 seconds after that. As fast as somebody could say, "Hey, Clark, get on Twitter." I think it would have been that.
It was
fast.
even quicker than 6 hours because
felt like every minute of 6 hours.
Chiefs availability was over at 1:30, and I saw Kareem Hunt like at 1:20 in the locker room.
Right.
And so we're out. We're out by 1:30, and it was just like 5 minutes after that. The video came out, and
I think he was cut around 7:30 or
okay.
so because I was at the facility the whole time.
That's
and
right.
had to wait.
You didn't go
Let
home.
me tell you, I know how long it took because we
That's
had
right.
no food and we were just sitting there waiting and waiting, and then I left and realized I had Oreos in my bag the whole time. Of course.
This is different. I mean,
This is much different because so the story that we had yesterday, Overland Park said Monday they're investigating 2 alleged incidents, including a reported battery at Tyreek Hill's home that he shares with his fiancée, Crystal. That's the bulk of the information. That's the important part right there, is that there are investigations. DCF is involved. The Chiefs are aware of the investigations. Nobody's been charged with a crime. That's where we are. But and I think that's all really important to remember, that this is an ongoing thing, that we're reporting information as we get it. We don't report anything unless it's incredibly well sourced, unless we are confident in our reporting. We have, documents that back things up. We're not, out here just reporting things for the heck of it. I think what we're doing is nobody wakes up and says, "Hey, I hope that we're going to get to investigate potential, battery at the home of a Chiefs player." That's not what any of us, hope that we're ever going to write. But when things like this come up, we have to address them and we have to report on them. And so that's what we've been doing. And the district attorney said Monday that the investigation is still ongoing. And we'll continue to update this information as we get it. But it's a long process, and things, especially in the legal system, don't happen overnight. Charges, are not filed immediately. Investigations do not wrap up immediately. And especially when it involves a child, it is even more precarious and thorough and, can be a slow process.
Yep.
Well
said. Yep.
Okay, good. Just needed to get that off my chest. But like I said, just keep updated on kansascity.com is where we'll have all that information. Guys, anything else that we need to address in this kind of catch-up that we've been doing? Hunt's catch-up.
Really good.
I really didn't mean to do that, but by the way, the Hunt family did give Patrick Mahomes it was a big champagne bottle, like the biggest champagne bottle I've ever seen, customized at the NFL 101 Awards in Kansas City a couple weeks ago. The front of it looked like a Hunt's bottle. The back of it kind of looked like a scrapbook that you would put together of like some of his moments, and it had like MVP on it and all this stuff. It was really cute, but also when I posted the picture, people were like, "All right, the ketchup joke's gone too far." I don't know how much longer it's going to last, but...
What do you get the quarterback who has everything? You get him a big old fake bottle of ketchup.
and as of this week, some Oakleys.
Yeah.
Not a fan of the Oakleys.
Not a fan of the Oakleys. It's not my general look. But you know what? They look like very protective eyewear. They cover a large chunk of your face. You will have no sun damage. I hope they're polarized. So.
So that's his latest endorsement. Right?
First NFL player to have a partnership with Oakley. I'm partial to Nick Foles being the first NFL player to have a relationship with or a partnership with Lululemon. He did, yeah. That happened a couple before he signed his deal with the Jaguars, I believe. So.
Nick Foles got paid. Good for him.
Yeah, he got paid, and now he's reunited with Chris Conley. Chris Conley said that was the reason that he went to Jacksonville. Which Chris Conley could be a guy that the Chiefs end up missing a lot this year, depending on how the rest of the depth of the wide receiver group shakes out.
Foles parlayed that one start for the Chiefs into a huge contract.
That's right, against the Jaguars.
Yeah, against the Jaguars.
Where he really wasn't very good.
He wasn't good.
But hey, good for him. By the way, we've had a lot of people asking about Darqueze Dennard. I have been checking around. I haven't heard anything since his visit. I got the sense that the Bashaud Breeland signing was instead of Dennard.
That was just last weekend?
Yeah.
Dennard?
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of the latest update we have there. By the way, the Chiefs have 2 second-round picks, 2 6th-round picks, and no 4th-round pick. That's how we account for the 8. So thanks, Jordan. And Nathan.
That second day of the draft will be
It is. It's going to be a fun one. Let's see. I think that's all we've got today, unless you guys have anything else.
First day will be busy too, so trade up.
He did
Don't
that.
put that on us. I mean, it's going to happen, but
All came running in from the back room. They're up to 10.
yeah. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to sign off from here. It may be a little bit before we're back, but it'll be more frequent once things get going with the draft. Pre-draft. We'll have some pre-draft things. Sure. I'll be at owners' meetings this weekend. We'll have some stories from that. So until next time, you can follow all of us on Twitter. You can keep looking for updates on kansascity.com and in your newspaper every morning. So we'll see you guys later.